Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the fifth series of fifth webinar on the knowledge series, startup journeys. Today we have Pramod Nair from Loadshare, who is the co-founder and CTO at Loadshare. Loadshare is in the third-party logistics space and a tech-driven logistics startup. I'm very excited to have Pramod. Pramod, incidentally, when I was talking to him a little while earlier, this is his fourth startup. Thank you, Pramod, for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Amit.
Yeah. So, Pramod, I'm going to, because we got a little delayed, I'm going to jump right in and take the liberty of introducing you very quickly.
Sure.
So Pramod is an engineering graduate from IIT Hyderabad with a degree in computer science, post which he spent some time at D. Shaw and Company, which is a hedge fund, a US hedge fund actually. 3 years into your professional life, Pramod, you started with, you had your first startup called Learn Social. And incidentally, I must tell you guys that I've not met too many founders who've had successful exits multiple times, and Pramod's definitely one of them. So Pramod had his first startup called Learn Social, which he exited in less than a year?
Yes.
Less than a year, wow. To a company out of Hyderabad called Way2 Online. Post which, Pramod started off with a company called MartMobi. Right, MartMobi was a mobile commerce platform which enabled SMEs, right? And I think a lot of some of the experiences that Pramod brings in, not just from a tech perspective, but also from a business perspective, is from MartMobi.
Yes.
MartMobi, right? So, Pramod, you were able to exit MartMobi then to one of India's largest e-commerce companies, Snapdeal. Right, and post which Pramod was a part of the Snapdeal team in various capacities. He helped build something called Shoppo, which is a C2C network, and post which he had a stint with Freecharge before Pramod went on to join Loadshare. So yeah, an amazing journey for someone so young, about 10 odd years of experience in the industry. Yeah, awesome. Let me also introduce Loadshare. Loadshare is a tech-driven logistics startup. It is one of India's largest and fastest growing companies in the logistics space. The vision is to enable small and medium enterprises, regional logistics, small and medium enterprises to scale up. And I think that's really what the core of Loadshare is. Loadshare was founded by Raghuram, and very quickly Pramod joined in.
And Rakib.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So before we introduce Loadshare and the sector, Pramod, I thought it will be interesting for our viewers to also look at your journey pre-Loadshare,
sure.
Right? So if you could give us a quick brief of, a little bit about your personal background, and then we jump into, the startup world really.
Sure. So I'm originally a Keralite, born in Kerala but brought up in Andhra all my life.
Okay.
My dad used to work in Singareni Collieries, so I grew up in the Ramagundam area. Then studied at IIT Hyderabad, and married to Deepika, who works in an educational startup. Mm-hmm. Have a 3.5-year-old daughter. So that's me.
Oh, that's nice. So, you worked in the industry for 3 years, and post which you had your first entrepreneurial stint.
Yeah.
Did you always know that you were going to be an entrepreneur? How did that come about?
Yeah. So from the early days of my career at D. Shaw and Company, I had a strong urge to build something new. I always had that feeling that I could do more and there is something more I could contribute to. So throughout that period, I was working with someone who would end up being my future co-founder, brainstorming on idea after idea every week.
Okay.
Trying to say that when we find the right idea, we would quit our jobs, we'll come and do this.
Sure.
But this went on for a while, and then finally we said, now we stumbled upon an idea which was to enable peer-to-peer learning. So we said this is something which is good enough for us to get into, and we said learnsocial.com will be that portal where we will enable any people with common interest to come together and learn in a online, offline and real-time manner.
Interesting. And then you exited Learn Social very quickly in less than a year, which is quite amazing to hear, especially out of India, that founders are able to exit or you can exit a company very quickly. And that's when you started Matmobi.
Yes.
Yeah. Tell us, and I'm more keen to also understand that journey, because I think that was a much longer journey. Tell us a little more about Matmobi.
Sure. So while building Learn Social, we figured out that there is a lot of traffic that was coming onto our website through mobiles. And we said that how do we cater to this niche audience who wants to engage with us on a mobile platform. And then I realized that we would need to set up a complete mobile app, a mobile website, tablet app, tablet website. And we found that the only way to go is to do it all ground up. So we realized that there is a bigger pain point in this industry where most of the consumption and commerce was happening on web at this point, but we could see a shift coming.
Sure.
And we wanted to ride on to that wave before it even started.
Okay.
So around the time we got an opportunity to exit Learn Social, we started looking at this problem of what is going to happen in the e-commerce space with regards to mobile. And one mistake we did with Learn Social was when we tried to validate the idea, we tried to ask people saying, would you want to learn something new? And the obvious answer was yes, of course. But the right question to ask would have been that if you had to spend 500 rupees to wake up on a Saturday morning to go to a place and then work with like-minded people and learn something new, would that still be something you would do? So here what we did is at Matmobi, before we started, we said we will find whether there is a market for this. So we walked into one of the larger e-commerce enabling platforms in India, and we said that if someone needs to do this, then it should be one of these guys, the Shopifys, the Magentos, the big commerce of this world. So we said, let's see how much of ahead of this are they on.
Right.
So when we talked to them, we realized that so we went in and we posed as merchants from Mumbai. We said we had a family business and we wanted to use their platform. And can we get on? So they were more than happy.
Okay.
But then we asked, what about mobile? Can you also give me a mobile app and website?
Right.
They said, no sir, people just say that they want to, you might get browsing on website, but then purchases are not going to happen there. So once we figured out that they were honestly saying this is what they thought, we realized that there is an opportunity here. If they are not yet seeing this, and we strongly believe that mobile is the way commerce is going to go, we should do this. So that's the inception of Matmobi. And from day one we realized that this has to be something which is a global SaaS play. India might not have been at the right time for that.
Sure.
So building out of Hyderabad, we were able to reach to a customer base of 200 plus merchants across the country, across the world, and so that's the scale we grew.
Very interesting. So I think one of my takeaway from what you just said was the fact that you have to be able to ask the right question while framing your strategy or your business idea, really.
Yes.
And I think Learn Social to Matmobi, I think that was the major shift that happened, really.
Correct.
Right?
Because you have a bias to say, I want to get a yes to this question.
Right.
Well, you have to be very honest with yourself about whether there is you're thinking about the right things.
Sure. That's nice. So the Matmobi journey, how long was it? And tell us, how did you manage? One is the ideation, which and the journey of ideation. Yeah. But how did you also decide to look at how much money? How did you raise the money? What was that journey like? Or was it self-funded to start with? How did that happen?
Yeah. So Learn Social was a journey where we didn't raise any funding and we just were two founders without any team and any investors. But this time we knew we were onto something meaningful. So early on we got some seed funding from IIIT Hyderabad, my alma mater. So that's where we incubated the company, and then we went on to raise a seed round from some angels in Hyderabad.
Okay.
Around that time, we tried really hard to optimize for how long we can make this last and how much of a traction we can build with limited amount of funding. So we ended up leveraging IIIT's ecosystem, their conference rooms and everything to run the startup for as much as we could.
Yeah, that's nice. And so how did Snapdeal happen? At that point in time, Snapdeal was one of the largest players in the e-com space, the blue-eyed boy of the VC world. So tell us a little bit more about the acquisition.
So about in the 2-year mark, we got into Techstars, one of the world's largest accelerators after Y Combinator.
Sure.
And at that time, we were the first and only startup in India to get into Techstars.
Okay.
So the founders, we moved to US. We spent 3 months going through a crash course on how to build a business. We came back to India, had a term sheet for Series A, and things were going in that direction. When we got an outreach from Snapdeal, and the question to us was that how big are you guys thinking about this? Where do you see this going? And we said that we have merchants from 24 plus countries and we are growing like this. And the question that Kunal asked us was that, but how many of these hundreds of apps that you power are breakout hits which have millions of downloads?
Sure.
So then we realized that we were just enabling merchants to come to mobile, but then we dropped the ball there. We didn't really see, can we help them become bigger and become more successful? So Kunal's pitch to us was that there is a large opportunity for someone in India to build a marketplace for the small and medium merchants.
Right.
But instead of just giving them an app, you need a marketplace where you help them generate demand. You also channel in demand, but then you also give them all the tools and technologies to generate demand. So we looked at Taobao as an example in China, which is extremely large. And we modeled our business in the base of that. So we built out a C2C marketplace where anyone could sell, anyone could buy.
Okay.
Staying true to my earlier ideology of anyone can teach, anyone can learn.
Right.
And we said it's a zero commission marketplace, no documentation required. So 90% of the sellers who try to sell on the larger marketplaces but get filtered out due to these constraints, we said you can sell here. We directly connect you to the buyer, you can chat with them, you can negotiate, you can make a full purchase. So with that as a core idea, we said that looks like a great next step of the journey to take SmartMobi to, and give us a real shot at building something which will have great traction and make a meaningful contribution to the Indian e-commerce space.
Sure. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. And so you built out Shoppo.
Yes.
And how large did Shoppo go on to become?
We were a 12-member team. So one of my biggest achievements is moving 12 people from Hyderabad all the way to Gurgaon and keeping them together for a long journey. And we were able to build something extremely special. And it's something that I feel very proud of, the way the product has evolved and how fast we grew.
Sure.
So we ended up having more than 2 lakh plus sellers on the platform.
Okay.
With a very limited overlap with the parent Snapdeal. So we were able to tap into something else entirely new. Millions of downloads on App Store and Android.
Right.
So we were able to tap into this growing wave of what you see today as a social commerce, of all the Meeshos and Shop on Ones and Glow Roads. So this is one of the original ideas that was needed to get this year.
So that's interesting. And then for a brief period, you also led the tech and engineering piece at Freecharge, right? I think that was more an internal movement within Snapdeal ecosystem at large. So and just for our viewers, so there's angel funding, seed funding, and a couple of acquisitions in Pramod's journey. And we're going to get into a Series A journey now. So Pramod's really moved all through an entrepreneurial ecosystem, right, from self-funded startup to Series A so far. Just for our audience, let me try and give you a little insight of what Loadstar really does. Right, Loadshare as a network today is a 100 active partner network. They have about 3,000 odd delivery executives, and they do a couple of million deliveries a month. And guys, that is very large. That's over 20-30 lakh deliveries a month. They're operational across 650 locations. And more importantly and more interestingly, they do, in logistics, there are three pieces of the value chain, which is your, top of the funnel, or, where the supplier or the manufacturer, you pick that up, you take it to a location, which is called the first mile. The second piece is called the mid mile, which is typically from that location or destination to a city, and the third mile or the last mile, which is actually delivering to the consumer. So Loadshare is one of the few companies in India which does all three and is tech enabled, right? Very importantly, they are aggregating both demand and supply and ensuring efficiencies in logistics. So let me try and give you an example of what that really means. Let's say that there is a manufacturer sitting out of Pune and he wants to send something to, let's say, Jalandhar, and he hires a trucker who's got a truck in Pune and he takes it to Jalandhar. Now a lot of times the trucker has an empty load, as in when he's coming back he has nothing. And I think one of the problems is, in the first place, is that he does not have demand from Pune itself. So that's the first problem that you're solving for those regional logistics players. The second problem that you're solving is also the return journey in some sense. On top of which, Loadshare today delivers to over 4,000 pin codes. And let me try and explain that to you in numbers. About 20 to 23% of India. Okay, and imagine India and the north, northeast, south extremes of the country. Loadshare is one of the few networks today which is able to deliver all across. Pramod, would you want to kind of expand over what I just said, in terms of what Loadshare does? I think you put it out far more beautifully than.
Sure. So at Loadshare, we are building a tech-enabled asset-light logistics network on the back of the hundreds and thousands of small and medium logistics SMEs across the country. So we identify these great supply partners across the country, we empower them with technology, we professionalize them, and then we open up this network to high quality demand on the other side. So to our demand partners like Flipkart, Amazon, Paytm on the e-commerce side, and guys like Pidilite, P&G, and lot many of them on the B2B side.
Right.
So what we provide is an instant access to increased reach. Mm-hmm. They can reach to far more parts of the country, and at a great cost, they can get good service levels also.
Sure.
So this combination of cost, service levels, and reach is what we open up to the demand side.
Right.
And on the supply side, these are the small logistics players who could not be competing with the bigger gorillas of the industry. So we say that here is a technology platform with a world-class ERP and app combination that helps you deliver on any kind of logistics. It could be e-commerce, food, hyperlocal, large parcel, first mile, mid mile, last mile, any of these kind of operations can be enabled through the same technology platform. And at the same time, access to high quality demand, which is something that they would not be able to get to. We are able to look at people who do really well in the regional area and then open this up to open up demand to them.
Sure. And I just noticed a question here, so I'm going to take a question. Guys, we'll take most questions at the end, but I thought I might ask this question because it's logic. It fits right into what we are talking about. How is 4PL changing the market, the logistics market, the logistics industry as a whole?
Yeah. So far 3PLs have been the ones who take care of the entire end-to-end logistics.
Right.
And that has been a wave that has grown on top of the e-commerce wave that is gone. So we are moving towards a 4PL ecosystem where someone like a Loadshare could work with multiple partners like 3PLs and open this up as a 4PL service. So an interesting part is the name Loadshare comes from the airline terminology called code sharing.
Oh, interesting.
So code sharing is a phenomena where when you go to Jet Airways and say I want to go from Mumbai to New York, so they would say fine, we'll book you. But then maybe they are not the provider who can take you all the way to New York. They might only take you till Abu Dhabi, and then their code sharing partner Etihad might take you from Abu Dhabi to New York.
Sure.
So we said that if all these small regional players who are very strong in their areas, if we can help them collaborate with each other and help them increase their delivery reach, instead of them having to go and open up hundreds of centers, can they plug into a bigger network and make use of this, is one of the founding ideas of the company.
Oh, very nice. There, I think your answer to your question there. Pramod, I want to understand, so when you quit, or when we are moving out of Snapdeal, I'm sure you had a bunch of opportunities, and someone from the VC space actually helped you connect with Loadshare. And tell us a little bit about that. Did you know your co-founders beforehand? How was that journey?
Sure. So while I was leading Shoppo and then leading engineering for Freecharge at Bangalore, so Matrix Venture Partners, so they reached out to me and said that there is a great startup in the logistics space founded by a great team and you should talk to them about their plans. And I was not really looking for any change, but then the conversation started and I could see parallels with some of the same themes I have been working on. So what I identified in Loadshare is that here also there is a problem of small SMEs who would not be able to compete with the bigger gorillas of the market, and how technology can give them that edge and a level playing field so they can play on their strengths and compete with them.
Right.
At the same time, create distribution channels for them.
Okay.
So that along with their own demand, if they can have access to some other demand coming through the platform, then how would it look like in a logistics ecosystem? This was exactly same problem that we were trying to attack at Shoppo and at Martmobi.
Okay.
So last 6 years of my life have been about enabling the SME business through technology and through added distribution channels to become big.
Right.
So there I could see a connect that this is a different industry but a similar problem. And it's a problem that excites me and keeps me awake on most days.
Sure.
That is one reason that I strongly felt that this is a place where I want to make a meaningful difference. The second reason was that logistics is a very fundamental industry in any country. Especially in India, it's a $100 billion plus market, growing 10% year on year. And it will be surprising for some of the listeners to know that it accounts for more than 15% of India's GDP.
Wow.
So something that is so core to the country, but in terms of technology adoption is not really there.
Sure.
So what we see in technology adoption of e-commerce last mile deliveries, when a Myntra delivery boy comes home, takes a signature on a phone, is a smaller part of the larger logistics problem. And two of the founders, me and Raghu, we have our backgrounds in e-commerce. So I was at Snapdeal and Raghu was heading customer experience at Myntra.
Okay.
And we have seen firsthand that customer experience breaks down in the delivery, especially in the last mile.
Sure.
So with the best minds in the country putting the best technology to play, if this is the state of logistics, then the bigger logistics industry of the country, which is 40 times larger than this, how can technology reshape that business?
Right.
So that was one of the bigger reasons, that there is a chance that with technology a fundamental industry could be transformed.
Sure.
And the third reason being the connect I could get with the founders and the value match that I could find, that these are people that I would love to work with and I would like to see and work together and make something big.
Yeah. I just want to go back to something that you mentioned when we were chatting a little earlier. How do SMEs adopt to technology? Because I think that's really where a lot of large tech players have found it difficult to, right? So, and from what you told me, your experiences and how do you work around that?
Yeah. So one of the bigger stumbling blocks of anyone trying to disrupt this technology, this industry, is the adoption and uptake of technology in this field is very low. The reasons are that this is an industry which has been running from hundreds of years on pen and paper. And how do you get in with some technology which adds so much value to everybody that they feel comfortable about moving away from that? What we have realized is that if you just go and airdrop a complete solution, saying that from tomorrow you are not going to use any of this and this is a complete new way of working, it's not going to work.
Sure.
So we need to have a lot of empathy towards the kind of problems they have, the kind of workflows that they have on the ground, and try to model that efficiently rather than say that here is a blockchain for you to do better.
Sure.
So to build that empathy, what we also do at Loadshare is we carve out a place in the tech floor, and it's a branch from where Flipkart deliveries around Koramangala happen from there.
Okay.
So every technology new joinee, he goes through an orientation where he runs the branch using the Loadshare platform, goes out to the field, does deliveries, and comes back with an understanding of this is how logistics on the ground works.
Very interesting. So you think SMEs are willing to adopt, you believe SMEs are willing to adopt technology as long as it's broken down into bite-sized solutions that they adopt, and not really everything at one go.
Yeah,
right?
I feel that there is a change coming in this industry with the advent of Geo and everybody coming on to mobile internet.
Sure.
And then all of them seeing how WhatsApp and other tools that came into their life as a communication channel, but then slowly became pieces through which they are able to transact, they are able to communicate with their businesses.
Right.
So there is a time when there is a chance for someone like Loadshare to be able to make a meaningful difference in their lives.
Oh, very nice. Pramod, I'm going to go back to your journey of when you were deciding to join Loadshare, right? One of the real challenges is how do you know, one is the idea in itself, which I think you walked us through how you identified with the idea. The other side, which is more human, which is the human side, right? Of saying how do you choose a team, founders, co-founders. Tell us a little bit of that, because you know a lot of people actually end up choosing the wrong set of, I'm not saying that they're not good people, but the wrong set of co-founders a lot of times, and that really brings the challenge to the startup. So how did you go about evaluating that, or how do you think one should really do that?
So co-founder conflict is one of the bigger reasons why startups fail,
right.
And that human connection is one of the most important parts of the whole journey, because the problems change from day to day, but the people you work with are going to remain the same.
Sure.
So unless you can commit to working with them and working with them socially and in an office for a number of years, and knowing that their fundamentals are in the right place and the value system that you bring to the table is matching with the other person also. So unless that fundamental trust is there in the other person, it's a difficult decision to make.
Sure.
In my case, we went through a period of discussions where I could really see that these people are also committed to this idea. They have put in so much of their effort into bringing it to this stage, and it means something very big for them. So I could see myself working with them irrespective of the outcome to just see how this will play out.
Right. So Pramod's mantra there is, if you believe that you can work with someone for 5 years, for a long period of time, I think then those people are the right people, really, over values, etc., as well. But yeah, you have to be able to work with them for a long period of time. Loadshare got a Series A funding. Can you tell us a little bit about fundraising? I would believe that was also your first fundraise, large fundraise, let me put it this way. So tell us a little more. Matrix and Stellaris have invested in Loadshare. So tell us a little bit about raising raising funds for a startup.
Sure. So whether you like it or not, raising funds is one of the realities of doing a startup. It can be very draining, but it's very essential for you to keep your startup growing and to go to the next level. So there are choices you make at every stage, whether you want to bootstrap it and go to some level, or get some real help in terms of money, expertise and other things, and have a real shot at making it really big. I had gone through a journey where I had raised, we had raised a seed fund and a Series A term sheet at the Martmobi scale. But once it came to Loadshare, here it was a completely different ball game. Every time that you step up and try to go to the next level, there are new set of requirements and the baseline changes. And you need to scale up as a leader, as a company, to be able to go through these phases.
Right.
And the whole company's personality changes as you go through these cycles. So Series A was a very interesting journey. We were growing really well, and we had interest from multiple partners. We started talking to them, and there we really connected with Stellaris Venture Partners. So they led the Series A. Matrix had already come in at seed, and they followed up along with Stellaris in Series A, by the way. So at that time, Stellaris, Alok at Stellaris is a great partner. He had been building a thesis on this space, on how the logistics space would evolve. And he had already spoken to 70 plus companies in this industry. So he had come with a very deep understanding of what is the current ecosystem, how is it like, what are the trends that he's seeing. And once we are talking to him, we could see that we could speak in the same language, and he could see the trends that we are seeing, and that he could connect with how this is going to possibly take off from here. And we felt really comfortable about getting Stellaris on board, and we are very lucky to have two extremely good VC funds in Matrix and Stellaris.
Very nice.
One point to note also is the kind of contributions that these guys bring to the table is not just in terms of money, but more importantly the connections, the help they do with hiring as a sounding board. So when we say that we need to figure out how to go about this problem, so they're at our office, they say let's just clear out the day, let's sit and brainstorm this. And we also feel like this is not something where we need to answer to someone on a monthly level what is happening, but that let's just catch up and see whether we are still thinking on the same lines. Are there any new opportunities that you guys are seeing, or anything that we should do differently?
So interesting. So you're saying a VC does not just bring monies to the table, but ideation, hiring support, direction, sounding board. So yeah, so I think that's also what one needs to look at when you're looking at a funding partner. The synergies there are as important. You've been building teams for a long time now, right? Tell us a little bit about your leadership style. How do you build a team? What are the pieces that are important when you look at building teams? If you could just...
Sure. So building teams is one of the most important things any founder or leader in a startup can do at any stage of the company. I believe that is the one area where I have the maximum leverage. My time, if it goes into hiring someone who can really take over a large part of the work, then that means that is time better spent than something that I am solving it or doing it in some way. And the kind of talent that needs to scale with you is very different from the regular talent that you would find in any place. And you can't just look for something like a fit of whether the domain knowledge is there is not good enough, whether there is specialization in this technology is not good enough. There are a number of things that need to come together, and you see that they also are crazy enough to believe in you at this early stage. And are willing to put aside some of their important parts of their life to go through this journey with you and build something which everybody can be proud of collectively. And as a leader, you also need to figure out that how do you make it worthwhile for them, that how do you give them an opportunity to scale with the company and give them a chance to really lead large pieces of the business and be able to move across multiple areas of functional and domain expertise as the company scales. So these are kind of opportunities that possibly are not available readily in the corporate market, but then being a part of a early stage startup journey with all the risks that it takes also provides these kinds of rewards. So at Loadshare, we try to say that we are trying to build a meritocracy based hierarchy where how good you are and how much you bring to the table helps us see you in the right position rather than the number of years of experience that you bring to the table.
Sure, that's nice. Pramod, one of the things that I always like asking most founders is, you have this idea or you have a bunch of ideas that you want to take to the market. A lot of times, you go to the market and then you realize that the customer feedback or there's something missing. Any thoughts on that? How does the product, any advice to budding entrepreneurs on how do you take that to the market and then?
Yeah. So when you're a startup enthusiast looking to get into this world, it can be very tempting to look at ongoing trends or latching onto something and saying that this looks like something which is good. Let me do this as a startup.
Sure.
But what I have found through multiple experiences that I have seen by advising other entrepreneurs is that there needs to be something fundamentally exciting to you about it. It cannot be a fad. If you are latching onto some ongoing trend, then it means possibly you are a little bit too late already. If you are able to see some insight into an industry which others don't really agree with, but then you believe strongly, and then you are able to figure out that there is some truth to it and you can shape some of this behavior, then it means you are onto something big. Even with that, you need to be really careful with how much of your own Kool-Aid do you drink. It's very easy for you to believe that I know this, I feel it really well in my heart, that this is the idea that is going to take off.
Sure.
But when you talk to multiple of the stakeholders and you do it in a right way, not by asking leading questions, but by trying to, through early prototypes and through other channels, when you try to gather feedback, if there is some direction that you are getting, then you should really reevaluate saying, am I too early? Is there a different spin to the same problem that I should be giving? Am I going in the right direction? So you should be open to listening to all this feedback, but maybe not take everything personally and say that I'm going to build what these guys are exactly asking.
Right.
So that is one advice that I can give.
Okay. Anything that you would want to tell us about, when you commit to a problem or an idea, where are there things to watch out for? So so when you're building out a business model, what are the things to watch out for? To my mind, something like a regulatory framework is something that you should watch out for. Are there any other such factors which are not necessarily something that most entrepreneurs are aware of? So, to my mind, financing, how do you look at financials over a bunch of years or months, your own personal financial, etc. So are there any tips to budding entrepreneurs on that side?
Sure. So when you commit yourself to saying that I want to be an entrepreneur, and you're doing it for the right reasons and not for money, because doing startups is one of the hardest way to earn any money at all.
Sure.
When you put all the odds together, then you need to ensure that you are planning towards it in the correct way. There are multiple things that can go wrong in any startup. A startup life is full of uncertainties, but there are certain things that you can still have some control over. And those are the areas where you try to maximize for. One of them is the idea, which is the most basic thing, which is that I am going to really find something that excites me really well, and there will be lots of ups and downs throughout the startup journey. But if the idea and your connection to it is strong enough, then that can see you through some of these periods. Second is the timing.
Sure.
So you need to ensure that you are in the right frame of mind, you have the right connects, you have the right peer group to maybe work with to take on such a exercise. So it could help for you to plan for it by saying that let me get my finances in a bit of an order. Let me maybe not get into some big housing loans or something like that. Let me ensure that I am ready to make a lifestyle change, which will help me try this out for at least 12 months. Whatever happens, I will still be able to try it out with multiple tweaks. because the idea that you start with most often is not going to be the one that you'll end up with as the what you'll be doing maybe 1 year down the line.
Right.
You'll need to find ways around it. You'll need to make minor or major changes around that. So you need to buy yourself that cushion of time to be able to commit to it. Then the third thing is the people that you work with. So there, like I said before, find people that you have a great connect with and who you think that they bring complementary skills to the table, and I would love to continue working with them. So with this, these are the three things where you can still take a pause, get the right ingredients in place, and then go take a stab at it. Right. But once you get into it, it changes the way you think and how you look at things. Once you have gone through this journey of trying to solve things from 0 to 1, where there is nothing very certain about how tomorrow is going to look like, what are the kind of problems I'll be solving 1 month from now, and sometimes you end up with things where you don't know if you'll be able to solve it, how you'll be able to solve it.
Sure.
But then once you go through this and you are able to solve it and you see that this is something that is what drives me, then it can be very enriching in just the journey itself, irrespective of how the outcome pans out. Right. That is one of the things I can tell you.
Oh, okay, right. Pramod, I'm going to kind of bring our chat to an end so that it can throw the audience, let the audience ask questions. But just before we go to the question and answers, where does Loadshare go from here on? You know, what is the journey?
Sure. So with Loadshare, we said that can we start with small logistics regional partners who are good at last mile delivery, create a technology platform that is really great for them, enable them to become 10 times bigger. Then once we have this network set out, can we overlay B2B demand on top of the same supply base that we have created?
Right.
And the future for us is taking it to the logical next step of how do we open up this network as a marketplace, both for the partners already on the platform and for other SME and large demand on the other side. So can we create something where any SME is able to tap into this new set of demand that comes in through a technology platform and use his existing assets which he might not be utilizing to the fullest extent so far, but through technology is able to say that let me get the most efficiency out of this truck, this delivery boy.
Sure.
Can I overlay multiple kinds of demand onto the same route? So with this as a framework, how can we create a top 3 logistics network in the country in a 5-year time frame is the vision that Loadshare is taking.
Nice. Very nice. Thanks, Pramod. Guys, we are open to answer question and answers now. I'm going to take up some of the questions that have started coming in.
This is a good one.
Yes. So, how is customer centricity impacting the industry, Pramod? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a very good question. When you build an asset-light logistics model, the one thing you have to watch out for is that can you still be the same level of customer centricity that people are experienced through the e-carts, the ATS of the world?
Right.
Do you have a shot at giving that to the customer? If not, then you are at a serious disadvantage. Because earlier I said that we provide an offering where there is a extended reach and there is a great service level at a great cost. But then whatever the cost is, we have understood that the service level is it's something that's not negotiable.
Sure.
So what we have been able to do is we use technology as a lever to provide great customer centricity. One example for this is that if I depend on a small logistics player in a remote region like Dibrugarh in Assam, and a delivery boy who gets his 20 shipments to deliver looks at a packet and says that this is a little too far away, I get the same amount by doing this other packet which is close by, so let me just mark it as undelivered, customer is not responding.
Sure.
Or the customer rejected. Unlike a e-cart where you could say he is my wishmaster who I am paying salary to and he cannot do any of this and he has to really follow an SOP, here you are depending on a partner who is remote and then one level down there is a delivery boy.
Right.
We try to solve it through technology where in the app when he says I am marking it as customer rejected, the app would stop him and say that you have not made a phone call to this customer and spoken for 15 seconds, so I doubt that the customer has rejected, so I am not even going to let you do this. If he is able to mark any of this, Then there is a next level of fraud detection that we built in the back end, where the branch manager is shown in real time that these 2 delivery boys are having suspicious behavior, and now it's on to you. Whether you counsel them and fix it within the end of the day, you need to be able to get this delivered or get a right customer experience done.
Right. So have you built tech when you say fraud detection? This is machine learning.
Yes.
Algos that are being built. Very interesting. Yeah. So in fact, there's a question which says, we know logistics companies are looking for new innovations. What are the new technologies Loadshare is working on? If you could, if you can share what kind of work you're doing on the tech side.
So one of the more interesting things that we do is how do we leverage this new large amount of data that we collect on a day-to-day basis to provide greater service levels and control over the logistics chain that we have.
Sure.
One example is that you can, when a truck starts from Guwahati going up on a 10-hour route, we are able to create a graph-based network already based on past behavior to know that at this point of time it has to be here, at this point of time it has to be here. Okay. So we don't depend on Google, which might say that a car would take 5 hours to reach from here to here, but there is a truck and there is a toll road that is there, and there are multiple factors that go into it. So we end up building our own graph-based models to be able to do this.
Correct.
And there are some other cutting-edge technologies like how we do WhatsApp-based integrations, where a trucker on the ground, he can just mark something as delivered by taking a picture of a docket, saying that this is something I have delivered, and then it gets instantly pulled into a server, and then we are able to do OCR on top of that and identify that this is the waybill that has been delivered at this point of time.
Okay.
So without any introducing unnecessary technology into the mix,
Sure.
we're able to piggyback onto the existing technologies that are being used into this.
Oh, nice. I think that's one of the things about a startup, and an innovative one at that, finding ways to solve simple day-to-day problems quicker, faster, more efficiently. Very interesting. Let me look at some of the other questions. How did you overcome the struggle to raise funds from an investor?
When you don't have any assurance.
When you don't have assurance of profit. So
so if there is an assurance of profit, anyone would lend to you.
Sure.
And that is the challenge of being able to raise funds. What you have to understand is that VCs look for certain kinds of things where you might not be able to have great profit already in, but you need to look at the other side. What they are looking for is some unfair advantage that you have. Can you be the team which can do something big in this space? Do you bring in some unique insight into to the table from your expertise, from your having worked in a similar industry, or something that that has been bugging you for a while? So either it is that, or there is a great team which you have been able to put together, and then the investor says that, okay, if not this problem, which I might not fully agree with, but they will find a way to solve a similar or a related problem, but actually take it big. So either get the team right, get the industry right. It's not an either or, by the way, but you have to get a number of things for you to be able to raise funds. Everything has to line up for something like this to happen.
True.
So the team, the idea, and the progress that you have been doing so far. What really helps for someone who is trying to break into this industry is very early on say that I'm not raising funds anytime soon because I'm sure nobody's going to fund me at this stage, but you have to plan towards it. As a founder, one of the big things that you have to always keep on your mind is I'm selling the idea to a new prospective employee or to a client or maybe to an investor. And with that lens, you have to say that who are the funds who are actively in this space, who are the guys who already have some deep understanding of the space, who I want to possibly see on my cap table at some point of time. Start engaging with them early on to try and get some feedback, just to say this is what I'm trying, what do you think? And then keep the engagement open, maybe just by sending an update once a month. You don't need to be saying that I need money, but just keep saying that this month we added 10 new clients, this month we have added a rock star on the team, and the growth has been like this. Keep doing this for a while and keep doing this consistently with a few good people that you have in mind, and then you start building up momentum already.
Sure.
And this kind of rigor also shows to the investor that these are people who do business in certain kind of way, and they can take it forward.
Right. I'm going to take a slightly unrelated question, Pramod. Very interesting one. Can drone delivery be possibly used over the next few years? Let's say in a place like India.
Sure. We have seen Domino's and Pizza Hut try out some of these things, and Amazon try this out.
Sure.
In India, it's going to be a bit of a challenge because of a number of things. One is the behavioral issue of people, how people can abuse any new thing that comes into play. Second thing is the whole concept of being able to, how the whole address system in India is broken, is mostly manifested in the whole logistics space.
Right.
Being able to pinpoint and say, this is the place I'm going to deliver to, and how are you going to coordinate the whole orchestration of the journey is, it's a cool idea, and we hope that when the time is right, we are able to do something good in that will help us eliminate the human element of any fraud that can happen and depend on more obedient drones. But I don't think the time is anytime soon.
Okay. I'm going to take one last question, and this is more around team building, Pramod. So one of the questions is, how do you frame strategies when adding someone into the team who's not there from the beginning? So to my mind, how do you get someone in after a while and get them into the culture and motivate them to deliver? I mean,
yeah.
How do you build that?
It's a very essential skill to have as a founder or a CEO, that you need to be able to find the right talent at every stage of the company and find ways to excite them enough to bring them in.
Sure.
So it could be a promise of how the growth is and how they can play a very important role in this, and keep them engaged for a while they see the progress. The same mantra of keeping people engaged and showing them progress can be something that wears people down, to say, once they start internalizing the idea that should I do this, to, oh, this is going so well, can I do something within this space?
Right.
So that is one approach.
Okay, great. Guys, we're going to not take any more questions. Thank you very much, Pramod, and thank you very much for being here. Thank you everyone on the other side, and we hope to see you soon, and all the very best.
Thanks, Amit. Thanks, everybody.